Hey everybody, it's David Terrio here, the English Language Arts Facilitator for the Huntington Beach Union High School District and an English teacher here at Fountain Valley High School. And this is this is my last video message to you this year, and hope things are going well. Hope things are going to get even better. And I just appreciate all of you sticking around and doing the best that you can this year. And I just want to share with you a couple last little things. And I just want to let you know that you are all my win this year, that you somehow made it through this year is really impressive. And so let's talk a little bit more about some of the wins that I had and that we could have as we finish out this year. Okay, so I'm going to hit present. All right, so what's your win Wednesday? And we are definitely all looking forward to not just Ferris Bueller's day off, but a Ferris Bueller summer off. I'm sure I'm not alone in feeling that last summer didn't really feel like a summer. And so I'm looking forward to having a summer. And hopefully we all have wonderful days during the summer, great weather. So that we don't have to think about school for at least, I hope you get at least a couple days this summer where you just don't have to think about school at all and you can just recharge and refresh. And just thinking about this movie, when he talks about life moves pretty fast, this whole year was like a blur for me. And there were times where I felt like I definitely wasn't doing my best job. And both as a teacher and as a father and a husband. And so there were a lot of times where I was like, oh my gosh, I need to do this thing or I need to do that. And you all shared with me, or some of you shared with me, some children books ideas. And I wanted to get back and show those back out to you because I said I would do that. Okay, so the next three books were all shared by Ms. Hunkel at Fountain Valley High School. Thank you very much for sharing these with me. And one is The Arrival, and she uses The Arrival with her ELD LEP 2 class. And if you want, you can come back in here and kind of read it, take a look at what she has to say. But it's really great for teaching inferences and also a really great immigration story. So you might want to check it out. We have one at our library here at Fountain Valley High School. You could always ask for it to be transferred to your school and use it with your students. It's a wonderful book. It's really magical. Another one is The Important Book. And you can read in here how she uses The Important Book with her students, which is really cool. And then I've watched Miss Hunkel. She taught in my class. We shared a classroom together, and I watched her do the Spill the Bucket. And it was every time she did it, it was exciting. The kids were really fired up, and I thought it was pretty awesome. So you might want to read a little bit about this. I'm going to be sharing the slide deck with all of you. All right, and Ms. Harshman she shared with me that she uses Where the Wild Things Are to look at different critical lenses and critical theory lenses. And so that would be pretty cool. I've done that with Frankenstein, but I've definitely never done it with a children's book where you can look at a book from a lot of different critical lenses, which I think is a really cool idea. Okay. Speaking of books, I hope you all had a chance to read They Called Us Enemy. Remember, it's still in our comic book database. It's still free. So if you were just a little too busy to read it, remember it was our HB Reads book. I highly recommend getting in that comic book database. You'll have access to it all summer long. And taking a look at this book, it was really great. But some of you, maybe you were too busy to really look at the comic book database and really see what else is inside the comic book database if we look at it, and how could I use this with my students for next year, right? We got a whole summer now to plan and think about. We have this resource here, the comic book database. So I just wanted to share with you an idea that I did with my students. What I did is I wanted all my students to do, and they went through the comic book database and they found a book that they really liked. And they gave a little elevator pitch to their classmate about why their classmate should read this book. So this is a really great way, like even if you don't want to read a single graphic novel as a whole class, you could just set your students loose on the database, find one they like, present it to the whole class. You don't have to use Flipgrid. You could just do the presentations in class. I did my presentation using, there's a graphic novel called Green Almonds, and it's a story about Palestine, which I thought was really topical. And so I demonstrated it for my students. And you can go into Flipgrid and just grab this assignment and make it your own. Okay. But there were a lot of really interesting graphic novels that I hadn't had a chance to look at yet that my students found, and they really enjoyed sharing it with their classmates. There was a whole series of these where there's one about autism and racism and just all sorts of really important topics. And your students can kind of read about these and you could use them. There's American Born Chinese, which I really enjoyed. My son and I read it when he was younger, and we had a lot of good conversations about it. March, which is one of our core books at the junior level at Fountain Valley High School, is in the comic book database. So every single one of your students can be reading March without having to request a copy or buy a copy. It's just in there, and you could use it for your American Lit class, which would be great. There was a lot of graphic novels that had to do with mental health and mental wellness. And my students really enjoyed reading these, especially now, but I think at all times. I mean, we teach teenagers, right? So you could even just use like a panel of these. Like you don't have to read the whole book. Like maybe there's a single page you want to talk about, as a writing prompt or as a tie-in to something else that you're reading or talking about. But there were a lot of really great graphic novels in here. This El Defa was fantastic. About somebody who became deaf and how they dealt with that. This Adulthood is a Myth is really fun. You could do a lot. You could use a lot of these pages as writing prompts. The Retreat was about two young men who lost a friend of theirs. It's Absolutely Fine was really great. The Bird Brain, my students really enjoyed reading Bird Brain. And Long Way Down, which some of you might be familiar with, it's a really great book. It got turned into a graphic novel. So this would be a really good read for you and for your students. Okay. There was this creative struggle, which was all about famous writers and what their advice is for students done in a graphic novel form, which is really cool. And this behind you, there was like a kind of a sci-fi. There's also manga, anime kind of stuff. There's all sorts of different things in the comic book database. So you might want to spend the summer reading some graphic novels for free on the database and finding out what you can do with them with your students, which would be really cool. There was also one that took place during the Holocaust, and there's one that talks about Chernobyl. So there's a lot of different topics in here in the comic book database. It's not just superheroes. In fact, I would say the majority of the books are not about superheroes. Okay. So remember, if you just go to this link, which you're going to have the slide deck, but you go to hbuhsd.macavia.com, make sure you're signed in with your Gmail account, and you'll be able to get right in. And you just go to the databases and then the Comic Plus database, and that's how you get in. Okay, this is the last topic I'm going to talk to you about today, and I'm really looking for your wins. Okay, so we have the new teacher induction, NTI. You might have heard of it. It's replaced BITSA, and NTI is definitely an improvement on BITSA. Kendra Rosales is running our NTI program here at HB, and she's also looking to, right now we kind of send our NTI teachers through the Riverside program, and we're actually looking to create our own program here at Huntington Beach Unified High School District. And in order to do that, we have to create a site where we list a lot of strategies that teachers use in the classroom successfully. So what I'm looking for is one strategy from you that deals with one of the California standards for teaching. Okay. So if you remember, these are the 6 standards: engaging and supporting students in learning, creating and maintaining effective environments, assessing students for learning. Like if you could just think of one thing that you do, one that deals with one of these. Now you could do more than one, that would be awesome, but just one. And this is what we're going to be looking for. So I'm going to send you a link to this so you can watch Kendra's video and get the templates. and she's going to tell you exactly what, but you're just going to do this. Look, this is it. So the template's already built. You don't even have to design it. All you need to do is you just need to put in a video of yourself telling a little bit about yourself and what this strategy is. It's a little name face story. Put your name down here. A description of the concept. Like, look, it's one sentence. And then a link, and it could just be one link. A link to a resource or research, even to a Google slide deck, a video, a website, whatever, about the topic. And that's it. So video, description, a link, and that's it. And if you could send those to me, that would be wonderful, because we could build this resource for all of our new teachers here at in the district, which I think would be amazing. And you know what? I might even learn. Well, I think a lot of us could maybe even learn from some of these. So there's something that's happened this year or that you do all the time and it's worked. And if you could just share with us this one thing, that would be great. And to incentivize you just a little bit more, besides the fact that you're really nice and you would do this because you're nice. I've decided that I'm going to make a little raffle or drawing. So every single person who sends me one of these, you're in the drawing. You can enter more than once, and you'll have 2 entries into the drawing. And I'm going to give out up to 5 $20 Amazon gift cards so you can buy a book and read a book this summer, like a real book. Get it delivered from me. I appreciate you. Thank you very much for your time. Okay, so we're all better together. All right. So if you could please do that. If you could do it before the end of school, that'd be great. If you're just too swamped and you want to do it that week or two when you're done with school, that would be wonderful. But if I could get these sooner rather than later, that'd be fantastic. And once again, thank you. I really appreciate you. And we're coming to an end, and hopefully everything will just be better. Thank you.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.